this records.
Okay. Cultural conformity through international adoption. In the stimulus material provided, I found a connection through cultural conformity. While brainstorming ideas, I decided to research how internationally adopted adolescents' culture was changed due to being adopted by American couples. I used the stimulus material, The Cultural Evolutionary Trade-Off of Ritualistic Synchrony by Michelle Jaffon, to develop my first solution, an excerpt from The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri to support my background information. While researching the major decline in culture, I also found a major decline in adoption rates and requirements for adoption. As seen on these graphs, international adoption rates have plummeted drastically. In 2004, 22,884 children were adopted internationally. 15 years later, in 2019, only 2,971 children were adopted internationally. That is 19,913 fewer children being adopted. Although this can seem like a potential solution towards the stop towards cultural conformity, it is quite the opposite. Relating back to the declines in international culture, requirements should be there to provide a protected environment, such as safe and cheerful homes American couples can provide. However, this child's culture should not be changed because of being adopted and moved to America. My argument is that children adopted and brought into American culture should stop conforming to the traditional American lifestyle, and instead should be taught resistance and be taught to be comfortable and learn to embrace their culture. The main problem is that instead of American adoptive parents teaching their children to be proud and support the roots and traditions that come with their culture, they're ignoring it and letting the child assimilate into American culture. They aren't putting in any effort to better their child's understanding of their home culture. All this information led me to form a research question: to what extent have internationally adopted adolescents been affected due to being adopted by American couples? As previously stated, in the stimulus, the excerpt from The Namesake, this talked about a little boy named Gogol. Gogol lives in America and is Indian. However, his name is Russian. This causes Gogol to want to revolt and change his name due to the fact that his name cannot be shortened like his peers. If Gogol's parents were to have informed him of Russian culture and told him why his name was important, if they were to have reassured Gogol of his name and why he shouldn't dislike it, he would have not wanted to conform just so he could have a nickname like his classmates. Gogol doesn't hate his culture. He was just never raised to learn and understand it. No, Gogol wasn't adopted internationally and brought to America, but he was raised around American culture without a strict understanding of his Indian heritage, causing him to assimilate into American society. Furthermore, I point that if a child's culture is implemented throughout their life, there's no reason they should feel the need to assimilate or conform. The first solution is to promote ritualistic synchrony. Ritualistic synchrony can simply be defined as the matching of actions in time with others. Synchrony has been associated with a range of phenomena, including increased affiliation, connectedness, and cooperation among groups of people. As seen in this chart provided by the stimulus material, The Cultural Evolutionary Trade-Off of Ritualistic Synchrony, it shows both the pros and cons of this method. Some benefits being cooperation, coordination, and cohesion. Ritualistic synchrony is the easiest solution to this problem. However, it is unethical and not the best solution. Liabilities and limitations to this solution are harmful obedience, less diversity, and less attention to minority perspectives. Having children completely synchronized into American society is unethical and shows no change to the problem at hand. It completely defeats the purpose and is not the right fit for this problem. A better solution to this problem would be my second solution, getting rid of age limits. The plummet in adoption, as seen on this graph, and the rise in cultural conformity can be lowered and potentially stopped by lowering the prerequisite of age limits. Positives to this solution include more children being able to be adopted, as well as more countries being open to adoption. This provides more homes and new environments for children in need. However, this isn't the best solution, as it would be hard to achieve, as countries would not just get on board with this plan. Also, there is a problem in who would enforce this law. Only having the implication of age limits isn't enough. This leads me to my third and final solution, rules and restrictions regulated by Whole International. The third and final solution is to provide prerequisites and specific requirements in order to ensure the safety for kids and to ensure that couples will promote their adoptive children's culture. This provides further clarity for adoptive parents, making the process smoother and easier to understand. Whole International is the #1 adoptive agency in the United States. They have adoption locations in 11. They have adoptive sites in 11 locations. Through these pictures found on Holt International's main website, you can see the 11 different adoption locations that they have. Through these pictures found on Holt's main website, Holt International strives to create happy and healthy homes for children and kids who are in need while still preserving their culture and traditions. Holt International has 8 steps towards the adoptive process, the most important being steps 2, 3, and 4. Eligibility guidelines, including age requirements and paperwork, the referral process and legal requirements, and finally specific country requirements. These steps thoroughly explain how to receive approval and the many prerequisites needed in order to be eligible to adopt. Having these prerequisites and requirements make this the best solution to this problem. However, no solution is perfect. A potential limitation of this solution is that there is a big amount of trust needed to be put in these parents, needing to be put in these American adoptive couples as well. We can't be 100% sure that they will completely preserve this child's culture. To conclude, internationally adopted adolescents should not be formed to conform to American culture. Their culture deserves to be preserved and protected throughout their life. Through nonconformity and prerequisites such as the ones Holt International uses, all international adoption agencies should be implementing Holt's rules and regulations, along with protecting children's culture and finding families who will support them and provide a safe environment against cultural conformity. Thank you. And that's my works cited.
Okay. So we are going to move forward with the oral defense questions. You're going to get 2. The first question is going to be about your research process. The second question is going to be about your argument. So my first question is, what evidence did you gather that you did not include, and why did you choose not to include it?
Can you repeat the question?
I can. What evidence did you gather that you did not include, and why did you choose not to include it?
When gathering evidence, I found a lot of evidence on specifically the decline in adoption, and although that I did have one of those graphs in my presentation, I actually had like 4 or 5, and I had to cut out a lot of them because when researching this topic, there was way more information on adoptive rates instead of cultural conformity, so I had to really pick and choose what I would use to create a sort of base for my PowerPoint.
All right. My second question is, what additional questions emerged from your research, and why are they important?
Additional questions that emerged from my research were how many children have already been moved to the United States of America and have already formed into American culture, and how that can even be prevented. Because I'm focusing on how children are being adopted internationally and moved, and they're still in that first few stages of them being moved to America. However, there's still tons and tons of kids that have already internationally been adopted who are assimilating into American culture. This is important because there can be certain requirements and prerequisites that should be implemented throughout their whole entire life instead of just when they're originally moved.
All right, very good job. Will you turn the recording on?
Yes.